Would you like to have dinner with me? A 6-year-old black girl invited a lonely white man to Christmas dinner. Her single mother, though struggling, welcomed him in. Their simple meal became a rare warmth before they were evicted for that very kindness. Days later, the man returned, this time as a powerful CEO determined to make it right. Before we dive in this story, let us know where you're watching from. We love to hear your thought. It was Christmas Eve and a biting New York cold gripped Harlem. Snow fell relentlessly, blanketing the sidewalks and old rooftops, blurring the soft glow of streetlights. Monica clutched the nylon bag holding a talking doll. The weight felt heavy not just from the toy but from 3 months of painstakingly saved pennies. Money for the leaky pipe in her damp apartment, money to chip away at next month's rent, all of it had gone into this single Christmas gift. A single mother in her early 30s, gaunt and weary from 2 manual labor jobs, her eyes still held a rare determined glint. She coughed softly, trying to hide a wheeze. Zahara, a 6-year-old with neatly braided hair, huddled behind her mom, cheeks flushed from the cold. She hugged the doll tightly, her brown eyes bright with childlike joy. Suddenly, her gaze fell upon a solitary figure across from the store. A man, around 60, his thinning gray hair barely covered by a wool cap, shivered on a park bench. His old winter coat wasn't enough to keep his gaunt frame warm. His hands trembled, clutching a crumpled, soaking wet paper card. Under the flickering streetlight, the smeared, illegible writing on the card was blurred by dampness, or perhaps tears. He made no attempt to hide his pain. Only his frail shoulders shook slightly, struggling to stifle a sob. Zahara gently let go of her mom's hand, taking small steps. The bitter air stung her face, but she didn't mind. She stopped a short distance from the man, her voice as soft as the night dew. "Mister?" The man started, lifting his gaunt face. He quickly wiped away the lingering tears from his eyes. "It's okay, child." His voice was hoarse. "I just miss my daughter. Do you have anyone to eat dinner with tonight?" Zahara asked, her eyes clear and free of suspicion. "Our house doesn't have turkey, but my mom makes really good tarts." The man's deep blue eyes, already dulled by sorrow, flickered. The child's sincere invitation stunned him. A faint, weak smile touched his dry lips. Monica had just finished paying and stepped out of the store. Seeing her daughter talking to a stranger, her heart clenched. Caution, a raw instinct for any single mother protecting her child, flared. "Zahara," she called, hurrying to her side. "I invited him to have dinner with us, Mom," Zahara whispered, taking her mom's cold hand. Monica looked at the man. He was frail, haggard, his eyes free of malice, only the emptiness of someone who had lost everything. It reminded her of her own lonely nights. She knew she should refuse, but Zahara's innocent kindness and the man's evident despair made her hesitate. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the man's voice was low. "I didn't mean to bother you, just resting here for a bit." Monica took a deep cold breath. She said softly, "If you have nowhere else to go tonight, you're welcome to come with us." Zahara's face lit up. She took the man's cold hand, her small fingers enveloping his rough ones. The 3 figures quietly left the park, leaving behind faint footprints on the wet pavement under the softly falling snow. The old wooden stairs in the rickety apartment building creaked under Monica's heavy steps and the man's slow gait. A weak electric light spilled from the 3rd-floor apartment as Monica opened the door. The smell of dampness and cold air hit them. The steady drip-drip of water from the broken kitchen faucet was a familiar sound, haunting their sleep. There was no sparkling Christmas tree, no joyous carols, just a cramped space with peeling walls where an old electric heater offered only faint warmth. Zahara quickly took off her thick coat, hanging it on a rusty hook behind the door. She was used to the scarcity here, and always tried to do her best. "Charles," the man stood silently in the room. His gaze slowly swept across the sparse furnishings, the rickety wooden table, a few old plastic chairs, a worn rug with cigarette burns. On a peeling wall, a photo of Monica and Zahara smiling brightly in front of a hospital entrance, was a warm, bright spot. "Your home, it feels warm," Charles said softly, his voice catching. Monica turned to her daughter, gently prompting, "Zahara, wash your hands and get the bowls for Mom, please." Their Christmas dinner was simple, 2 packets of instant noodles quickly prepared with a few slices of cheap sausage and a tiny piece of tart Zahara had saved for Charles. Monica put the last sausage slice on Charles' plate, saying softly, "We don't have much, sir." "This simplicity," Charles replied, his voice deep and warm, "makes me feel special." Zahara pushed the plate of tart toward him, her eyes sparkling. "You eat it, mister. My mom's tart is really good, you have to tell the truth." Charles smiled faintly, a rare smile that softened the haggardness on his face. Monica looked at that smile, a gentle stirring in her heart. During dinner, Zahara chattered about her simple dreams, about the talking doll she had wished for. Monica quietly observed Charles. He ate slowly, politely, his hands occasionally tightened, as if trying to hold on to a distant memory. "Do you have family nearby, sir?" Monica asked, finally breaking the silence. "I used to have a family," Charles replied, his gaze distant, tinged with sadness. Monica nodded, asking no more questions. She understood the pain of loss, the desolate loneliness that Charles's eyes held. She had known such long nights herself. When Zahara rubbed her eyes, yawned, and fell asleep on her mother's shoulder, Charles said softly, "Your little girl, she's lovely." Monica gently stroked her daughter's hair, her voice tender, "She's my everything." Outside the thin window, the wind still howled in gusts. Monica's dry cough echoed in the quiet room, her chest aching as if squeezed tight. She knew that if things continued like this, she wouldn't last. Charles stood up, slowly pulling the crumpled paper card from his worn coat pocket. This time, he opened it for Monica to see the childish scrawled handwriting, "Merry Christmas, Dad. Even though I'm not coming home, I still love you, Ellie." His voice choked, his eyes red. "This is the card my daughter sent 3 years ago. Since then, every Christmas Eve I've been alone. I'm so sorry for bothering you and your child." Monica gently shook her head, her gaze sincere. "It's okay, sir." Charles looked at Monica, his eyes full of gratitude and remorse. "I want to do something to thank you for your kindness. Please let me know, anything at all." Monica smiled sadly, shaking her head decisively. "We don't need anything, sir. A warm dinner was more than enough." Charles looked at Monica for a long moment, as if trying to read her heart. Then he bowed his head slightly, a single tear rolling down his gaunt cheek. Thank you for showing me. There are still good things in this world." He gently stroked Zahara's sleeping head, then looked at Monica one last time. His silhouette disappeared behind the creaky door, leaving a faint warmth and the steady breathing of mother and child in the small room. The morning after Christmas, Harlem was still blanketed in white snow. Monica and Zahara woke up in their cold apartment. The electricity had been off since last night. Monica tried to relight a small fire in the old electric heater, but it only flickered weakly before dying out. The smell of dampness and the slight chill from the walls filled the air, making Monica cough dryly, her chest aching. Zahara sat on the small mattress, holding the talking doll, her little face timid. "Mommy, it's so cold." Monica hugged Zahara, holding her tight. She could feel every chilling draft from the thin wall, the wind whistling through the cracked window. The air was thick with helplessness. Christmas melodies still echoed faintly from somewhere far off, through the tightly shut window, but they only made the apartment feel more empty and cold. A loud, brutal knocking pounded on the door, echoing through the old hallway. Monica jumped, she tiptoed to open it. Rick, the landlord and owner of Rick's Grill, around 50 years old, stood there. He was covered in snow like a moving iceberg, his face cold and expressionless. In his hand he held a white sheet of paper. Rick spoke, his voice disdainful, tinged with anger. "Monica, I thought you'd at least show up for work." Monica suppressed a cough, her voice raspy. "Yes, I was on time. But it was a snowstorm this morning, the roads were blocked." Rick cut her off, throwing the paper in Monica's face. "Don't bother coming in anymore, and you don't need to live here either." Monica bent down to pick up the paper. Her eyes widened, trembling as she saw the bold black letters, "Notice of Eviction." The words 24 hours stood out, like a death sentence. What is this?" Monica stammered, her voice losing its composure. "I've been doing well, I haven't violated anything." Rick took a step inside, his eyes scanning the dilapidated apartment, glancing at Zahara hiding behind Monica, his gaze full of contempt. You haven't violated anything. You dared to harbor a vagrant in my property on Christmas Eve. Other tenants complained. You know I've been annoyed with you about the rent payments already. Both you and your daughter have to leave before I call the police. Monica stepped back, clutching the crumpled paper, her throat tightened, the air seemed to thicken. He was just passing through. He had nowhere to go that night. My daughter, she invited him. Rick scoffed, his eyes as cold as ice. Your daughter has no right to bring trouble here. I have to ensure the safety of other tenants. I don't like having to answer for you. This is my territory, not a charity house. He knew a difficult neighbor had called him early that morning. Monica bit her lip, her eyes welling up. She looked at Zahara, her small face filled with fear. Evicted onto the street in a snowstorm. No job. You're doing this on Christmas morning. Monica whispered, her voice hoarse. Where will we go? She's too young. Rick turned his back, indifferent as if he hadn't heard. That's not my problem. You have 24 hours. He slammed the door shut, the bang echoing like thunder in the cold apartment. Monica collapsed to the floor, tears streaming down her face. The eviction notice felt like a death sentence, strangling the future of mother and daughter. Zahara stirred, whimpering softly in her sleep. Monica quickly wiped her tears, took a deep breath, and pulled Zahara into her arms. She could feel every chilling draft from the thin wall, the wind whistling through the cracked window. In her mind there was only one overwhelming fear: if they didn't have stable housing, Zahara could be taken away by social services. She had heard horror stories about that in Harlem. That afternoon, Monica sat on the wooden stairs leading to their small apartment, holding Zahara. The little girl whimpered, her eyes sad. Is it my fault, Mom? Because I invited Mr. Charles over. Monica shook her head, pressing her cheek against her daughter's curly hair. Her voice was gentle but firm. No, my love. It's not your fault. It's because their own goodness makes them feel ashamed. A north wind blew through, carrying crumpled scraps of Christmas paper. But in Monica's heart, something was stirring, not fear, but a strange calm. She didn't need to be ashamed of being kind. She just needed to be strong. Zahara sat on the cold floor, holding her talking doll, trying to pull a tiny piece of fabric over its shoulder, as if tucking her friend in. Monica was futilely cleaning the apartment, but the air still smelled of dampness and cold. The steady drip of water from the leaky kitchen pipe was the only sound breaking the silence. Monica placed a bucket under the faucet, then sighed. She had called the landlord a dozen times, but no one had come to fix it. Zahara's lunch was a quickly prepared packet of instant noodles, with a few slices of nearly expired sausage. Monica only drank a glass of plain water, trying to keep a calm expression so her child wouldn't worry. She coughed dryly in fits, the cough tearing at her throat. That night, Monica tried to sleep but couldn't. She coughed continuously, her chest aching. The scurrying of mice on the ceiling, the wind whistling through the cracked window sounded like ghostly calls. She rumbled, trying to pull the thin blanket higher, but the cold still seeped in. Tomorrow morning, she would have to find a new job. Under leafless trees, the snow had partially melted, forming muddy puddles. Monica hurried through the streets of Harlem. She passed old brick buildings, some stores boarded up, their windows shattered. A few homeless people cooed in their thin blankets under the awning of an abandoned building. The smell of garbage mixed with the damp cold air. She witnessed a social worker taking a child away from a sobbing mother. Monica shivered, her greatest fear rising again. Monica entered a small convenience store. The elderly Asian woman behind the counter looked at her with sympathy. Heard Rick fired you, huh? What a Christmas, bastard. Monica forced a smile, her voice tired. Yes, ma'am. Now I have to find another job. The owner shook her head, her eyes sad. It's tough, dear, not many extra jobs left around here. And you, she looked at Zahara clinging to Monica. Have a young child. Monica nodded, she knew. This was the look she often faced. A look of pity mixed with judgment. Single mother, black, living in Harlem. the labels society had placed on her, making her opportunities even more fragile. Monica visited a few other diners to ask for work, but all she received were cold rejections. The first owner looked her up and down, her eyes assessing. "We need someone for late-night shifts. How can you do that with a young child?" The second owner was indifferent, not even looking her in the eye. "This position requires stability. Your resume isn't quite a fit." Monica returned home, her heart heavy. The fear for her daughter's future weighed heavily on her. She hugged Zahara, holding her tight. Her daughter's radiant smile was a reminder that she couldn't give up. A few days after Christmas, Charles was in a modest hotel room. The snow had lessened, but the air was still cold. Familiar Christmas songs still echoed from nearby houses, but now they only tormented him further. Charles sat quietly on the single bed. His eyes stared blankly out the foggy window. The room was empty, yet he didn't feel as lonely as in previous nights. Because in his mind, Monica and Zahara's images were vivid. He took out Ellie's card, gently caressing the words, "Even though I'm not coming home, I still love you." His eyes were still sad, but there was a subtle change, no longer complete despair, but remorse. He remembered Ellie's dream to become a community nurse, helping those in need, especially single mothers who had to give up their education due to circumstances. That dream had been buried with his grief. "I gave up everything, even Ellie's dream. I ran away, wallowing in my pain, and yet, a woman with nothing was willing to share everything. She said kindness shouldn't be traded, but I can't just accept it. What would Ellie think if she saw me abandon them, leaving them to struggle in the cold and hardship? My girl, she would never do that." Charles got up abruptly. He took his satellite phone from his worn coat pocket, a phone he had kept, though unused, for years. He opened his contacts, looking for the number of an old associate he believed might have information about the landlord Rick in Harlem. He wanted to go back to visit Monica and Zahara, to make sure they were okay. A few days later, Charles returned to the familiar Harlem street. The snow had melted into puddles, but the cold still bit. He walked up the old creaking stairs, his heart pounding. He wanted to knock on the door, to say thank you once more, to make sure the mother and daughter were all right. Charles stood before Monica's apartment. The door was wide open. Not because Monica had left it that way, but because it had been forced. Inside, the apartment was empty. The small plastic Christmas tree was gone. The worn chair, the old rug were also missing. Only stains on the walls, a few scraps of trash, and an eerie silence remained. He looked around, trying to find any sign. The dripping sound from the kitchen faucet was still there, but no bucket to catch the water. The old neighbor, Miss Chen, an elderly Asian woman, stepped out of the apartment opposite, carrying a laundry basket. She saw Charles and stopped. Miss Chen looked at him with a sad expression. "Are you looking for someone?" "Monica and little Zahara, they're gone. Kicked out a few days ago." Charles froze, his whole body stiffened. "Kicked out? Why?" he asked, his voice trembling, disbelieving. Miss Chen shook her head, her eyes full of sympathy. "That Rick, the landlord, he said Monica owed 2 months' rent and harbored a stranger on Christmas Eve. He used that as an excuse to kick them out the very next morning, in a snowstorm. Poor things, now no one knows where they are." Miss Chen's words were like a knife stabbing into Charles' heart. The very morning after Christmas, when he was still consumed by his own remorse, he had been too late. Regret surged, overwhelming him. He had been too selfish, too absorbed in his own pain to realize that Monica's kindness had put her in a dangerous situation. "I was too slow, I let them suffer this. Ellie, she would never forgive me if I abandoned them." He turned away, his face pale. The pain of losing Ellie, the emptiness of a life without purpose, now mingled with a terrible sense of guilt. He had missed the chance to return kindness in time. He took out his satellite phone. Charles's eyes now held not despair but a burning fire of determination. He put the phone to his ear, his voice firm and powerful, completely unlike his weary tone moments before. "Connect me to my assistant. I need to mobilize all resources to find someone. Her name is Monica Davis, and her daughter Zahara." He would not let them suffer anymore. He would find Monica and Zahara, and he would make amends for his mistake. After days of frantic searching, the Sterling Foundation hired a team of private investigators to locate Monica and Zahara, based on information from Miss Chen and connections in Harlem. A few days later, Monica and Zahara were still out on the streets, huddled in a park. The snow had melted into puddles, but the air still carried dampness and a biting cold. They shielded themselves with a thin old blanket. For days they had slept in train stations, in an abandoned bus stop, and now, only the cold pavement remained. Zahara was asleep in Monica's arms, hugging her talking doll. Monica looked out, her gaze unfocused. She coughed in fits, feeling utterly exhausted. She had called dozens of places but no hope had emerged. The overwhelming fear for her daughter's future weighed heavily on her, as she found it almost impossible to find new shelter or work. She clutched Zahara's hand, feeling her child's small fragile presence in the cold. Her gaze fell on Zahara's sleeping face, her daughter's radiant smile, a reminder that she couldn't give up. But hope was fading. Just then, a sleek black Mercedes pulled up sharply in front of them. Monica started. A man stepped out of the back seat. It was Charles. Lacking the full context of his power and connection, Monica only knew him as the man from the park. He was dressed neatly, but his face held a tense, apologetic expression. Monica's eyes widened. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Charles hurried forward, his voice urgent, full of apology. "Monica, I finally found you. I'm so sorry. I'm truly sorry I didn't come back sooner. I didn't know Rick had done that to you. I've been looking for you everywhere." Monica was still stunned, trying to comprehend what was happening. Charles looked deeply into Monica's eyes, his voice low, weighted. "You asked who I am. I am Charles Whitmore Sterling. I am the founder of the Sterling Foundation, and I run Sterling Holdings." Monica gasped, speechless. Her whole body felt like it might collapse. Zahara stirred, squinted at Charles, then nestled back into her mother's arms. Charles continued, his voice still sincere but with a hint of authority. "First, please accept a temporary safe apartment and urgent financial assistance, so you and Zahara can get settled. After that, Monica Davis, I'm calling from the Sterling Foundation office. You have been directly nominated for a full scholarship to the community nursing program, a program my daughter dreamed of before she passed. This is a new opportunity, a new beginning. Please accept. This is all I can do to atone for my mistake." Monica's hands trembled as she took the envelope. She opened it, seeing papers with the Sterling Foundation logo and a clear interview invitation letter. Tears streamed down her face. She looked up at Charles, her eyes filled with both astonishment and immense gratitude. You're really," Monica choked out. Charles looked at Monica with sincere eyes, taking out a photo of Ellie from his wallet. "Because Zahara gave me an invaluable gift on Christmas Eve. And you refuse to accept repayment from me. Now I'm not just repaying your kindness, but also fulfilling my daughter's dream. Ellie. She always dreamed of helping people like you. I was too consumed by sorrow to remember. Not anymore. I won't let anyone else suffer because of their kindness." Monica hugged Zahara, tears still falling. This wasn't just an opportunity, but salvation, a miracle amidst a turbulent life. Charles had arrived, not as a homeless man, but as a father carrying a legacy and a repentant heart, seeking redemption by helping others. After a brief period of settling into their temporary apartment, Monica and Zahara moved into a new, much warmer and brighter apartment than their old place in Harlem. The dripping water sound was gone, replaced by Zahara's giggles as she played with her doll. Monica began her studies in the community nursing program. The full scholarship covered tuition and a fixed portion of living expenses, but money for food, utilities, personal items, and unexpected expenses for Zahara remained a significant burden. Monica still had to study day and night to catch up on knowledge lost after many years of interruption. The academic pressure was immense, especially as she had to balance homework with caring for Zahara. She often stayed up late, her eyes dark with fatigue. Having a home, having an opportunity, doesn't mean everything becomes easy. It just means I have a stronger foundation to fight from. Monica sat in class, trying to focus on the lecture. She took constant notes, but sometimes her eyes drooped from lack of sleep. She looked up at the board, her gaze determined. She couldn't give up. One day, Zahara fell ill. Monica had to miss class to take her to the clinic. She sat in the crowded waiting room, Zahara coughing continuously in her arms. Monica checked her watch, knowing she was missing an important class that could affect her final grades. Monica's own chronic cough, which had lingered since Christmas Eve, also flared up worse. Taxi fares, medication for both of them. These expenses, though small, were still a big burden. The nurse called out, "Zahara Davis." Monica carried Zahara into the examination room. The doctor prescribed medication, advising Monica to get more rest and to have her own lungs thoroughly checked. Monica nodded, but knew she couldn't rest. That evening, Monica put Zahara to bed. Her daughter was fast asleep. Monica sat up, holding her head. She felt exhausted. Her cough returned, each dry hack tearing at her chest. Homework piled up on the table. She looked at her textbook, but the words blurred. Many nights, I wondered if I could do it. If I had enough strength to study, be a mother, and take care of myself. What if I failed again? Zahara needs me. In the Sterling Foundation office, Charles was reviewing reports. He received an email from a nursing school professor reporting on Monica. Monica Davis is an exceptional student, with extraordinary resilience. However, we've noticed she is struggling with financial pressure and health. She coughs frequently and shows signs of severe sleep deprivation. We are concerned about her ability to continue the program at such an intense pace. Charles frowned. He remembered Monica's gauntness, her dark ringed eyes on Christmas Eve. He immediately picked up the phone. "Please contact me immediately regarding Monica Davis's situation. Arrange a comprehensive checkup for her at our clinic as soon as possible, and find solutions to alleviate her burden. This isn't a race, it's a journey." Monica understood that while the scholarship from the Sterling Foundation opened doors, her path to success was her own to carve. She fiercely dedicated herself to her studies, determined to overcome the discrimination she had faced and prove her worth, not through charity, but through her own talent and hard work. She knew this was her chance to build a better life for Zahara. Slowly but surely, Monica's efforts began to pay off. She excelled in her classes, often surprising professors with her sharp insights and unwavering commitment despite her challenging circumstances. She learned to prioritize, finding moments to study during Zahara's naps and after she went to bed, fueled by sheer willpower. Her chronic cough, which had lingered since Christmas Eve, was now being addressed, with regular checkups at a community clinic, recommended by Charles Foundation, and by diligently following medical advice, Monica's health slowly improved. The foundation also connected her with affordable flexible childcare options, allowing her a few precious hours to focus solely on her studies, or to simply rest. 4 years later, Monica stood on a brightly lit stage. She was no longer the gaunt, weary woman from Harlem. Her posture was confident, her eyes shining with fierce intelligence and a quiet strength. She had not only graduated at the top of her class from the community nursing program, but had also been instrumental in developing a groundbreaking new outreach program for underserved mothers and children in urban communities. This program, born from her own experiences and deep understanding of systemic inequalities, focused on holistic support, providing medical care, nutrition education, and mental health resources directly within neighborhoods. It was innovative, highly effective, and quickly gained recognition across the city. The New York Times had featured her story, not as a recipient of a scholarship, but as a leading voice in community health reform. The article highlighted her perseverance, her brilliance, and her ability to transform personal hardship into a powerful catalyst for change. It was a story of triumph over adversity, a testament to her inherent talent and unwavering spirit. This public recognition solidified her status as a formidable advocate and a brilliant professional, proving her worth beyond any doubt. The article also implicitly drew attention to the inequalities she and others like her faced, leading to increased scrutiny and calls for accountability for figures like Rick, who quietly faded into obscurity. Monica had not asked Charles for more help after the initial scholarship, choosing to stand on her own 2 feet. He respected that. He observed her progress from afar, occasionally receiving updates from the foundation. He knew her journey was her own, and he admired her strength. Time passed quickly, and New York welcomed another winter. Monica's small apartment was much warmer now, not just because of the new heater, but because of the consistent presence of someone who had become like family. Charles was no longer a stranger who had merely offered aid. He was a trusted friend, a kind mentor, and a beloved figure in their lives. More than a year after receiving the scholarship and starting her program, Monica was thriving. She had recently begun her practical training as a nurse at a community hospital, a place where she could directly help people, embodying the very spirit of the nursing program. She came home one chilly winter afternoon, to find Charles playing with Zahara by the dining table. On the table was a freshly baked tart, fragrant and warm. Zahara cheered when she saw her mom. "Mommy, Mr. Charles made a tart for me." Monica looked at Charles, her eyes filled with deep affection and gratitude. "Thank you," she said softly. Charles smiled gently. "It's nothing. I just wanted for us to have a warm dinner." The three sat at the table, enjoying the delicious tart in the cozy atmosphere. Zahara chattered about school. Monica shared stories about her patients at the hospital. Charles listened quietly, occasionally smiling. He didn't offer advice or direct assistance for her daily struggles anymore. He simply offered companionship and warmth. After dinner, Zahara rubbed her eyes, ready for sleep. Monica gently put her to bed. Charles remained at the table, looking at Monica with tenderness. "Monica," he said softly, "you and Zahara, you've given me a family. I found so much joy in being with you both." Monica looked up at Charles, her eyes welling up. All the years of struggle, all the loneliness, seemed to dissipate in this moment of shared warmth. She smiled, a genuine, strong smile that reflected her journey. She didn't need Charles to take care of her in a grand way anymore. She was capable and strong on her own. But his presence, his quiet love, was a precious gift. She knew the road ahead still held its challenges, but she no longer felt alone. She had built her own strong foundation, and now, she also had a beautiful chosen family. That winter, snow still fell lightly outside the window, but in the warm small room, three hearts had found a profound connection, warming each other with sincere affection. The miracle of that Christmas Eve was not a magical intervention, but a tiny seed of kindness that had blossomed into Monica's fierce self-reliance and the quiet, comforting bond of a new unexpected family. By the window, the streetlights quietly shone, bearing witness to an ordinary story brimming with human spirit.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.